Welcome back in. Thanks for joining us on this last day of 2024. It is New Year's Eve. Tomorrow is New Year's Day. Lots of football going on, that's for sure. It's going to be a fun time these next couple of days watching the college football playoff. And you got some bowl games before that, too, that start right at 10 o'clock this morning. Got to tell you about Doug Smith Mitsubishi. Join JJ and Alex from 3 to 6 p.m. Friday at Doug Smith Mitsubishi, and it's at 495 West Main Street in American Fork, just off I-15. No one knows Mitsubishi like Doug. Joining us now, BYU wide receiver Darius Lassiter. Darius, DJ's off. PK's with you this morning. How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Good. All right, got to talk about that bowl game, man. Wow, what a performance, offensively and defensively. Now, I assume you were pretty confident that the team would do well and believe that they could win, but did you think it would be like that, where it's basically so, not that it was easy, but it was dominant?
Yeah, I think that every time we go out there, Kalani wants us to go out there and dominate, no matter who our opponent was, whether they got the Heisman or not. He knows what he has in that locker room, and we trust the game plan that they have for us, and everybody played lights out.
Yeah, that's for sure they did. How about the entire bowl week? What did you enjoy? What were some of the activities that were fun for the guys?
Yeah, so when we first got there, we went to SeaWorld and was with the Dolphins, so I feel like that was fun. Everybody had a good time, especially not being with families for Christmas and everybody just being around each other. I think that was the biggest thing. Just make sure everybody felt loved. And then we liked the little river rally thing. All the Cougar Nation showed up. They was loud, they was energetic, and we really felt them.
How weird was that, Darius, to be in a team setting for Christmas? I don't know if you'd ever had that before.
Nah, that was my first time, because when I was at Eastern Michigan, our bowl game was before Christmas. So,
right.
So that was my first time away from family. So it was different. But if it comes with a bowl game victory like that, I'll take it every time.
You think that playing Colorado, they get a lot of run. Obviously, Coach Sanders is he's a celebrity of the highest degree. He was a phenomenal player when he played. I don't know how much you remember him, but I do, because I'm obviously older. But the Heisman Trophy winner with Hunter and his son being quarterback. To me, the playoff games are something. But I've always felt, as I looked at this bowl matchup, I thought, wow, this is probably one of the better non-playoff games, if not the best. So did it give you a little bit, maybe not extra motivation, but just a little bit more awareness to play Colorado, knowing that there was going to be tons of people watching because Colorado draws eyeballs because of who they are?
Yeah, I think our biggest thing was we wanted to go out there and just go out there and play our best, because we know that we supposed to be somewhere else right now. We felt that in our hearts, and we just wanted to go out there one last time for the seniors, for everybody out there who they may be staying or transferring, that we want to go out there one more time and show what this team really is. We didn't really get all the respect we wanted all year, so we want to go out there one more time and prove what we really are as a team.
You couldn't play in the first half because of suspension with the other game. How was it to stand there just in the first half? I'm sure you were pleased that the team was doing so well, but it had to be odd for you.
Yeah, at first it took a little bit of getting used to, but once you're out there and you see everybody else having fun, that just all you can do is go out there and be supportive of the guys, and that's all I was. And I knew once that second half come, they was gonna be supportive of me. So I just had to return the love to them. Super proud how they played in the first half, offense and defense and special teams. So
yeah, you should be. I think that at least as a fan, as a media member watching a game, you go into a game and we all have certain ideas and expectations that we think that it's going to turn out. We don't really know for sure. And then we see the complexion of the game. And to me, get your feeling on it, as I'm watching the game and I see you guys look so good on defense, dominant on defense, and thinking, all right, wow, that's impressive. Not sure I saw that coming. I thought the offense would be okay. But then as you get a feel for the game, it seems like okay, this game's going to go down to the end. Well, by the start of the second quarter, I thought, wow, BYU's in total control of this game, and most likely, unless something crazy happens, they're going to win. How was the feeling along the BYU sidelines as the game was progressing, and it looks like you're doing pretty well?
Yeah, it always feels good when you come back into the next half up 20-0. But our thing is we wanted to bury them. We knew that we left a lot of points out there. We felt like it should have been 35-0 in the first half, just because how we were playing, and not everything went our way. But if we would have executed how we were supposed to, we felt like things were supposed to pan out that way. So our biggest thing when we came back out was just to keep our foot on the pedals, because we know how at any time a team can come back, especially with a quarterback and a group of receivers like that. He has all the tools around him to where he could have willed his team back to victory, but the guys didn't bend, they didn't break. So that's just kudos to them. Just playing for 4 quarters. That's something that Tyler had said before the game. We got to play for 4 quarters. Because a lot of times we didn't start out good this year, whether it was offensive, defensively. So we wanted to start fast and continue to be that same team that y'all seen in the first half.
What a dramatic turnaround from 5-7 to 11-2, right? I mean, that's very impressive. Now that it's done and the season is over, what do you think are some of the reasons that led to such a much better performance this season as opposed to last season?
First, I think what people don't notice is our strength staff. I feel like they got us prepared for this moment ever since we came back last year in January. They changed everything around that we did, and in our culture, we just had to double down on it. We had to get all guys believing in what we wanted to accomplish. And once we did that, once everybody was believing in each other, we knew the sky was the limit. We had the players. People might say we not got the talent, but we went out there and won 11 games. So hard work beats talent. Talent doesn't want to work. So everybody knew we had to work extra hard because people was gonna count us out no matter what it was. We was 9-0 and still became underdogs in some games. So I really think that once everybody started believing each other, believing what we can really do, last year it was a wake up to us moving into a new conference, and I'm just glad how everybody handled that adversity. Know what it felt last year to be snubbed out of a bowl game, losing that last one. That hurt everybody. So us coming around and turning around this year was big.
How hard is it to get motivated during those winter workouts when the season is so many months ahead?
I don't think it's really hard to get ready. If you know the results that you're gonna put in is gonna correlate to it. It's gonna come out on game days. So as long as you got guys on your team that's willing to work, that want to go out there and be great, that want to be better than they were last year, I feel like it's all gonna take care of itself.
BYU receiver Darius Lassiter joining us here on the KSL Sports Zone. So what's ahead for you now?
I guess I got a decision to make in the next week or so about my future and the things that I want to do. So just take a little bit of time thinking about that and then see where the future takes me.
How do you go about making that decision? Because obviously you played a little bit of junior college and the ruling came out that kids who are seniors this year who played junior college can get a year back if they want it. But I'm sure, like your father, you want to play in the NFL, and you have a brother in the NFL too, right? And obviously most kids who play football want to play in the NFL. Looks like you'll certainly get the opportunity to show what you can do. So I'm wondering, how do you go about reaching the decision, whatever it might be?
I think it's just really weighing on my options and see what would be the best opportunity for me, whether it's coming back or going ahead and declaring. And it's really, I feel like it's really how you feel on the inside, whether you feel like you making the right decision. I don't feel like nobody else can really help you with decision. It's something that you kind of just got to pray on and it'll come to you yourself.
Now you have a level of maturity that obviously is different than an 18-year-old freshman, and you've been through a lot of things. You lost your father, and so you've had to deal with that, and you moved around in your college career. So you're not a kid anymore, Darius. You're still young, obviously, but you're way more of a man than a kid. That's for sure. How much of that goes into thinking you have an understanding of, hey, I have to get on with it. Whatever happens is going to happen. I'm wondering, because you've been through so much, how much will that help you in making a decision?
Yeah, just past history and knowing what I went through and how things panned out and risks that I had to take. I feel like that just kind of helps you kind of make decisions for your future. You can got to go through things that was hard for you a couple years ago, and you kind of compare it to where you are now in certain situations. So I feel like having all those hardships can kind of help you come to decisions to help your future.
You did decide to pursue NFL, so I assume if you come back, well, that speaks for itself, right? You'll be on the team and you'll do your thing again next year. But if you decide that you want to move on, what do you feel about your NFL skills? Because I'm wondering that, how much next year you really need to improve. It seems like at this point your talent is what it is.
I feel like there's always more that you can go out there and put on tape, no matter how good or bad as you did the previous season. So I really just think that, it kind of just comes down to whether it feels like you're making that right decision for yourself to where you're going to be able to put yourself in the best possible situation to where you can, show what you can do. It's really hard to say, but it's something that you just gotta keep praying and waiting, and kind of it's gonna all answer for itself.
How about the fact that the quarterback will be back? It looks like every year kids leave the team. Every team has that in college, but it looks like the quarterback, running back, some of the receivers. Chase Roberts said he'll come back. So my point is, it looks like if you decided to want to have another season, that there'll be a lot of talent returning, particularly with the quarterback. Does that factor into it at all?
Yeah, most definitely. When you got somebody that's already been throwing you the ball and you already got the connection where you guys can trust each other, I feel like that plays a big factor. You wouldn't want to go back somewhere where you didn't know who's going to be throwing you the ball, and there'd be a lot of unknowns. So having Jake back would be a big factor in coming back.
The coaches, they have an opportunity to get feedback, right? Is that the way it works?
Mm-hmm.
Do they get the feedback, or does the feedback from the NFL people come to you? What's that process like?
Yeah, coaches can get feedback and stuff like that, and then agents as well, because you have your scouts come to practice and check out the players that they got on their boards and things like that. So coaches can have feedback. And then most of the time it's agents having feedback as well, because they always communicated with them.
Do you have a deadline where you have to meet with this decision?
Yeah, the end of this week.
The end of this week. Well, then you got a busy week to decide what you're going to do. I'm sure no matter what, you're in an enviable position. If you come back, you'll be on a good team. And if you decide to go to the NFL, you'll have your opportunities to succeed there. So it looks like no matter what you decide, it's going to be a positive. Is that your mindset?
Yeah, most definitely. I know either situation that I choose, I know that I'm gonna be all right in good hands.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Darius, we thank you for coming on this season. It was a fun season to watch you guys play, and best of luck to you. If you're coming back, we'll talk to you again. If not, good luck in the professional ventures.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Okay, that's Darius Lassiter, BYU receiver. Is he former BYU receiver? Well, I guess we'll find out at the end of the week there. Looks like he's in a good position, comes back to a good team, or maybe move on and try his hand in the NFL. He's got the bloodlines, that's for sure. I think he's got a decent shot. I'm not an NFL talent evaluator, but I look at some of the guys who have gone from our community into the NFL at receiver. I don't know. What do you think, Yak? I think he's got a shot.
So I actually talked with a person who's more in the know on NFL stuff about him and Chase Roberts. This is when Chase was pending what he was going to do because he's already announced he's coming back. But they said that both of them have shown the production you like to see at wide receiver. The biggest thing for, in this case, Darius, he's got to go out there and test well, run well, all the agility stuff. As long as he tests well, he should be in a very, very good position.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we will transition to hockey. Utah Hockey Club in action. Last night in action. Tonight we will have the radio voice joining us next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
There will be some hipster who looks back and was like, remember how ugly/cool those jerseys were? I got to go get myself one. I mean, that's what the purple jersey is.
Yeah.
Everybody hated it. The players hated it. John and Carl both publicly complained about it. The reason to this day that the jersey that's swinging into the rafters is the note for those guys is because they hated the purple so much.
Yeah.
But the hipsters fell in love with the purple 10 years after they moved away from the purple, and now all of a sudden we're back to the purple. And everybody forgets, like, oh, we hated that thing forever. Remember when they had the copper black and stuff like that? I guarantee some hipster is going to dredge that up in 10 minutes. And everybody hated it. Whatever.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Joining us now, Mike Folta. He calls the Utah Hockey Club's games on our air. He is the radio voice. Mike, I don't know if you're married, but John Denver is the band of the day, and he would have been 81 today. But when you go on a road trip and you have to leave your dog, do you just sing this song to him? You're leaving on a jet plane?
I sing this song, PK. I think of the Tommy Boy quote when we come to a place like Edmonton, that John Denver is full of you-know-what when I don't see any of the mountains. But or that's from Dumb and Dumber, I guess, not Tommy Boy. But I'm a big Johnny D fan. That's my karaoke go-to right there.
Nice. You were leaving on a jet plane. You left on a jet plane last night. You're in Edmonton today, I assume, right? You guys travel after the game, and
yep.
They play
get out right after, and we got off. We got onto the tarmac, PK, and it was, I think, 5 degrees. Felt like 2. So that's what we're dealing with up here right now in the frozen tundra.
Yeah, for sure. Now this will be the first winter you spend in Utah. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
So what do you think? I mean, we're just barely getting started here. We still got another couple of months, 2.5, 3 months of winter. What do you think of this winter that you were experiencing here along the Wasatch Front versus some other areas? I know you've had some warm weather, but in traditional cold weather, how does it compare?
It's pretty mild. It's been really enjoyable, and those days when we don't have the inversion and it's a sunny day, it's been amazing. And I was just talking with somebody on the plane that we've been surprised. We didn't realize how sunny Utah is, and that's been a pleasant surprise, and it's been a lot of fun. And I do need to get up in the mountains more and see some of the snow. I love the snow, and so I need to find a way to kind of experience more of a little winter wonderland up in the hills and out of the valley. But it's been great.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Mike, about the sunny days that we have here. I can remember talking to Mike Conley. He played his basketball at Ohio State. I think he grew up in Indianapolis. And so when he got here,
I believe.
Yeah, right. and I know you have a connection there too. And and he was talking about that how many sunny days. It's funny you say that because I remember him specifically saying that he was pleasantly surprised about how much you see the sun in our community in the winter, because where he had been in his other places growing up, you didn't really see it. It was mostly gray and all that stuff. And just having the sun, even if it's a little on the colder side, having the sun, for him, it said it made such a big difference in his mood and all that stuff. And that's exactly what you said. And a lot of these guys on the team, this is going to be their first time here, so they probably got to feel the same way.
Yeah, and, Mike Conley's from kind of pretty close, just a couple miles to from where I'm from in Indiana. Played with Greg Oden, I believe, at Lawrence North before making it to the NBA, obviously. But in Indiana, it's just pretty, cold and dreary, and we get the cold without really getting the snow, so you don't get like that winter picturesque scene. And it's just kind of overcast. I went back home for Christmas. It was great to be back home again in God's country, but it definitely is not as scenic as the mountains are. And when you can look up and see the snow-capped mountains, like, it does kind of energize you a little bit compared to the Midwest when it's all flat and gray, and you got to wait. Really, you're waiting for March Madness, basically, in the Midwest before you have a chance at happiness again.
Nice. Now the team, man, this team just intrigues me so much because so far it's a team of streaks. On the road, and now a little bit of a losing streak there. You're much closer to it than I am. The only thing that I can just attribute it to is just, I don't want to say immaturity, maybe youth is a better word, the newness of the team. What would you attribute these streaks that they seem to be going on?
Yeah, before last night, so last night we lost our fourth in a row, but before last night we had lost 3 in a row, but it didn't really feel like it. We had lost a couple one-goal games, and even against Colorado at home the other night, we lost 4-1, but the Avalanche hit a couple empty netters, so it was basically a one-goal game. But it didn't feel like we had lost 3 in a row. And now, after this most recent one, it's kind of like, okay, now we're on a slide a little bit here. And I don't really know what to attribute the streakiness to, per se, because, again, during the first 3 of this most recent streak, it didn't feel all that bad. We were playing some good hockey, just didn't get bounces going our way. But last night definitely left something to be desired, and that was one of the first nights where head coach Andre Tourigny was pretty displeased with his team's performance. And I think last night when it got away from us was talking with Bear, our coach. He was talking about how we're pressing, and when the goals aren't coming easy for us, we have a tendency to press a little bit, like try harder to score. And what that means is you take more chances, and then you leave things open on the back end. And that's what we had last night. And we were pressing a little bit up the ice, and Seattle was able to get some guys in behind our D and create some breakaway opportunities, and they made the most of them. And it feels like we're just a goal or a bounce of the puck away from really taking control of the game. But that's life in the NHL. All these teams have elite level players, and you can be a bounce away from winning all year and miss the playoffs. And there's no participation trophies here. So, we got to find a way to manufacture some of those bounces here and start a new streak, because this team has been playing really well for the most part since the middle of November, getting good goaltending, playing really well defensively. Special teams have been really good on the power play and penalty kill. We've got our young guys going with Cooley, who scored a goal last night, and Dylan Gunther, who leads the team in goals. But finding a way to break out of this now slump is going to be paramount these next couple games, because it's the start of a road trip, and you don't want that rain cloud hanging over your head for too much longer on this trip.
Mike Folta, who does the play-by-play on the radio for the Utah Hockey Club, joining us here on the KSL Sports Zone. You speak of the postseason, the playoffs, and it seemed like when going back for when the announcement came and the team came up from down there in the valley up to Salt Lake, the guys talked about the playoffs, and there was a stated goal to get there this season, and it's going to be obviously a season-long task to get there. And I wouldn't surprise me at all if it doesn't come down to the last week. If it does come down to the last week, I'm just wondering, since everyone has been talking about the playoff, is it wearing on these guys? Meaning, oh my gosh, we can't fall too far behind, that type of thing.
People have been bringing it up because this team has been better, honestly, than I think a lot of folks thought they were going to be. Right now, Utah is 2 games above 500. And sitting right in the middle of the pack in the Central Division, which you could make the argument is the most competitive and has the most contenders to win a cup of any division in the NHL right now. So I think this team is exceeding expectations, and I don't think that talk of playoffs has ground down the players at all at this point. But I do think you have to be wary of that coming up, because after you kind of get these checkpoints throughout a hockey season, and we've reached one of them. After Christmas and after New Year's, that's when you kind of take a look around and see where you stack up with the rest of the league. And if you're not close to a playoff spot by Christmas or New Year's, it's typically very, very difficult to get into a playoff spot throughout the rest of the year, even though we're not even halfway through. So I think coming up into January and February, this is really where teams make their hay. And we still have a long way to go, almost 50 games still here left for Utah. But I think being tired of that playoff talk is not something that these players have had to deal with yet, but it could be coming up through these next few months, because, again, this is when the rubber really meets the road right here, right around New Year's. And you see some teams that maybe get off to slow starts, like we saw Edmonton, who reached the Stanley Cup Finals last year before losing to Florida. We saw Edmonton get off to kind of a slow start. You see some of these veteran teams kind of wobble out of the gates, but this time of year, they're humming. So Utah's got to be ready and find a way to compete against those teams.
Mike Folta, he does the radio play-by-play for the Utah Hockey Club, and this interview brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. You speak of Logan Cooley. Now, there was an incident. I don't want to call it an incident. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. A situation where the Bear decided to keep him off the ice the other night, and he talked about it. And then Cooley came out, and he's just a young pup. And I loved what he had to say, that he basically took full responsibility. And I think that's cool that he took the responsibility, and the coach thought it was necessary to teach him a lesson. How important is that lesson to be taught to such a young player?
Yeah, well, and credit to Logan Cooley, who, you said it, a young pup. He's 20 years old. I mean, I was a pretty big fool, PK, when I was 20 years old, and Logan Cooley has a lot more responsibility than I ever had at that age, and probably you too. I don't even want to think about a young 20-year-old PK running rampant, leaving a trail of broken hearts. But Cools is mature for his age, and one thing that Bear always talks about is his competitiveness, and the way that Turini explains it is that competitiveness sometimes compromises Cooley's ability to, and he's not the only one, but it compromises his ability to make decisions or potentially do what's best for him and the team in that moment, because he wants to win so badly and he wants to be the guy so badly, and he wants to be a difference maker more than anything. So he let his emotions kind of compromise his ability to help the team a couple nights ago. That was against Anaheim, and what was a 5-4 shootout loss. And Bear benched him for the rest of the third and then in overtime. And that's a guy who definitely would be on the ice in overtime. And so that was, that hurt the team right there, not having Logan Cooley out there. But again, this is still a learning process for a lot of these players and for this group as a whole. that's trying to mature, and Bear made the choice to sit him and send a message. And again, Cooley's not the only one that has that flare up with the competitive. We've got a lot of guys who really care and love the game and compete their what's off. But that's something that he's still got to figure out and iron out. And it's crazy to think, you look at these teams that win the Cup, and a lot of times their superstars are 26, 27, 28 years old in their primes. Utah's superstars are 20 years old and 21 years old, Dylan Gunther, and Clayton Keller, the captain, is 26. Like, he still has some ways to go, right? And so the maturity arc for this team is still very early on, and for them to be above 500 and competing with some of the best teams in the league is pretty remarkable.
One of the things that I took from Torney's benching is that he must have a lot of credibility with management, and we're still learning about the management of this organization. They've only been here just a few months, right? And we know the owner, Ryan Smith. He's been around a little bit, but both Armstrongs and all the leadership, and Torney obviously being there, included in that group, it's a learning process, at least for me it is as a media member, to see what these guys are about. And we see some franchises all across sports, the second things don't go well, they want to blame the coach. We just saw it with the Sacramento Kings. They extended the guy in the summer, and then he doesn't even make it to Christmas before they're making a change, right? And Sacramento's been all over the place in terms of that stuff. And one of the things that you see when you just make all these changes, it seems like it impedes progress. So I'm wondering if I can read into this, because that was sort of gutsy to bench a player that you could use to help you win a game, and then you lose the game. And I'm wondering, at least to me, it said that he must have a lot of credibility with his bosses to be able to do that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Now, I don't want to speak for management on that, but I think your point is definitely a fair one to make. And if you look at Turney with the Coyotes over the last couple of years, they've seen their win total go up and up each of the last 3 seasons. So they had been improving under Bear, even though they had missed the playoffs in each of those 3. But they weren't supposed to make the playoffs. They were, they didn't have the horses to do that personnel-wise and player-wise. So if you listen to General Manager Bill Armstrong, he was pretty adamant before the season started that this team is in year 4 of a rebuild, and that they would be happy for this team just to be playing meaningful games late in the season, meaning they want this team to be in the playoff picture, in the hunt. If we're on that NFL, in the hunt graphic, that's success for us. If we don't make the playoffs, it's not the end of the world with this group, because everyone is so young, and there are years ahead where this team is going to get better, and Dylan Gunther is going to get better, and Logan Cooley is going to get better, and this team will be in a better playoff spot, because it's cyclical in the NHL. I mean, look at the Chicago Blackhawks, who, won 3 cups in 5 years not so long ago, and now they don't have their superstars, Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, and they basically stripped the thing down to the studs and are trying to rebuild around a 19-year-old. And they're at the bottom of the division, and it's going to take a while for them to get back. So hockey, it takes a while for you to get back at the top, but if you build the right way, and if you build sustainably, you can have success like what the Blackhawks had, where you're in contention to win multiple cups in a 5 to 6 to 7 year window. And that's what Utah is trying to accomplish right now by being really patient with the process and not rushing guys along. And one more thing on this, PK, think back to Dylan Gunther, who's the team's leader in goal scoring right now. He has 16 goals, and he's only 21 years old. And he came into the NHL as a teenager and played pretty well with the Coyotes, but they wanted him to over-ripen, and so they sent him down to junior hockey to finish out junior hockey and play meaningful games in junior and be a leader on his junior team, and he goes and wins a championship. He plays well again the next year in the NHL, but they still send him down to the minor leagues just to be a leader on that team in terms of scoring, to play on the power play, and to play some meaningful games down in Tucson. And now because he has over-ripened a little bit because he spent maybe a little extra time in the oven, he has become a force in the NHL and one of the most dangerous scorers in the division. So it's hard to over prepare a guy. It's never a bad thing to leave a guy down in the minors or in junior and let him dominate at that level before he comes up and helps your team push forward for a playoff spot.
Well said, Mike. We appreciate your time. Ring in the new year up there in Canada, and we'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait for a PK. Enjoy the ball drop. Happy New Year to you and everybody back at KSL, and have a good start to 2025. Any resolutions?
I'm going to be a little meaner than I normally am.
Meaner. Okay, perfect. Can't wait for that.
I just think I was too nice in 2024, man. Too nice.
All right, piss some more people off. That sounds great. I'll stay out of your way.
Hey, it's sports radio. It's what we're supposed to do.
All right, yeah, some more takes. I like it. I'll come prepared.
All right, we'll talk to you next week, Mike.
Thanks, BK. See you.
Okay, it's Mike Folta. He does the play-by-play for the Utah Hockey Club on our station on the radio. All right, we got Steve Bartle coming up at the top of the hour. We can see what's going on in Utah football. My gosh, it's almost like they've had more action off the field this year than they had on. We'll get to that here at the top of the hour. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Let's start off with the good news of Kyle Whittingham coming back. Tell me what that means for this Utah team and what kind of legacy are we going to see Kyle Whittingham hopefully set himself up for this next season?
He's worked too hard. He's accomplished too much of that program. He's the Lovell Edwards of Utah football. You think he wants to go out 5-7? Of course not. The challenge for Kyle Whittingham now is to come back with a renewed energy and vigor to turn this program around. Kyle Whittingham has to rebuild his own program. There's a lot of changes already. We're up past 15 players that are in the portal. He's got a brand new offensive coordinator in Jason Beck. Utah looks completely different now than they did even 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is going to be a lasting part of his legacy, is to turn around the program that went 5-7 and turn them into something special next season. And a lot of work Alex is going to have to go into that.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Mr. Mack Utah County High School Players of the Week, celebrating the best high school boys and girls basketball players in Utah County each week. This week's winners were Dean Reckert from Timpview High School and Janice Sikander from Westlake High School. Big Dean Reckert led the Thunderbirds to a trio of wins as he averaged 25.6 points per game, as Timpview beat St. Joseph's Prep out of Pennsylvania, Bishop Gorman and Riviera Prep out of Florida in their holiday tournament in Vegas. Sikander led the Thunder to a pair of victories as she scored 15 points in a rivalry win at Cedar Valley before adding 16 points in a 65-50 win over Mountain Ridge. The Utah County Player of the Week award is proudly presented by Mr. Mack. No one buys, no one sells, no one cares the way they do. Absolutely no one. Okay, people, we've been all over the map this morning with football, with basketball, and hockey. Big news coming in the transfer portal. The transfer portal for University of Utah has been just extremely active in terms of mostly coming and a few going. And we will get to the going part and the coming part. Steve Bartle, who covers the Utes for us, he's our Utah insider for KSL Sports. You can read all of his stuff on KSLSports.com. He's got an overview on where the situation stands now with the team. I read it last night. It's posted up at KSLSports.com. You can check it out, and we will get to him next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.